This conference will now be recorded.
Very good morning. Good morning. So, did we do the setup? Jenkins master setup? Okay. And also node setup. Did we set up the nodes? Agents? Yes. I'm asking, did I set up, not you? Did I set up yesterday? Yes. So, we set up two nodes. What are they? Linux node also, same Linux node on EC2. So, how many of you able to set up from your side? Was it success? Any issues? No one has set up firewalls? EC2 or? What was that error? Long time response. Yes, for long time response means? Yeah. What is that issue? Able to do SSH to the instance? Are you able to do SSH? So if you have, so timeout issues. So what is that issue? Timeout issue? Then what do? I've explained that scenario already. So what do you do in terms of timeout issues? How do you debug those issues in EC2? What do you set up? What do you check this? Security groups. Check the security groups. Or the security groups are enabled or not. That's timeout issue, not reachable issue. Timeout issue. Are you able to do SSH? Yeah. So if you are able to do SSH to the instance, so for SSH on EC2, so what is the rule you set up? What is the type of the rule? SSH. Now what you are trying to do? You're trying to access Jenkins, right? Now what type of security group needs to be set up? What was that? HTTP. So this has to be open. So you can just make it source as anywhere. So try this. You'll be able to load your Jenkins master. Okay. So this is what I said. If you get any issues, something like not reachable or timeout issues, the only thing is you go to the security groups, you set the particular rule type, then you will be able to do it. Okay. Okay. Fine. Anyone else? Had any issues? Anyone did set up on virtual instances? Virtual instance is okay. Fine. But anyone did the node setup? Node setup is not done yet. Let's do that. So now moving on to. So let's try with Windows node. Okay. So this is somewhat different. Let's talk about the Windows node. So start the master first. This is the master instance. So installing all these ones on EC2 instance is a lot easier than working with virtual. So Jenkins is loading. Logging. So now we have two nodes, so EC2 as well as Linux. But EC2 node, so we have not launched it, but we have gone through the configurations, settings, how do you set up them. So just what are the settings you do? So what are the important points we set up and we look into when we set up a node? What are the points? Launch method. Yeah, what is the launch method? SSH. What is the launch method? We use it for Linux launch, Linux nodes. Launch agent via SSH, right? And then, so this is the same launch method. You use it whether you have your virtual instances or cloud instances. Anything, it's all same. And then, but this has to be remote root directory has to be the home directory of the EC2 user. Why EC2 user? Because the username, default username, we log in as EC2 user. That's why I mentioned that default user home directory, which is EC2 user. And anything else? This is important. Number of executors. So what is the number of executors? Not parallel jobs. Number of parallel builds, not jobs. Okay. So, and then you launch it. That's all that. And then, and you see that Linux node. So did I connect the node actually? Did I launch the node? So what is the status of the node now? Is it online or offline? Is it offline? It's online, right? Okay. So how do you say it's offline? How do you say it's offline? Offline. Why did you say it's offline? So it's online. If the node is offline, you see something like this, right? It's disconnected. So this is online. Anyway, the node is connected, right? Now, so did I connect that node manually? So when did I connect this? Yesterday, right? So now even after that, I have started my Jenkins. I have stopped my Jenkins. I have started my Jenkins. I have done a lot of times, but even I have started my Jenkins again. I did not launch that node manually again. The node is automatically connected to the master. I did not click on that launch button. If you click on the launch button, then the node would be connected manually, but that is automatically connected. So why that happened? Because Linux nodes, your master is also on Linux and node is also on Linux. So the method they use is the same launch method, which is SSH method. Since both instances, your master instance and also node instance, running on same platforms, the connection will be set up automatically. But what if? So I have my master on Windows, sorry, master is on Linux, but I have a Windows node. Will they be connected automatically? Let's see. So we're going to set up a new node, which is Windows node. So let's give a name to the Windows node and permanent agent. So same thing, description and then number of executors. So what is the number of executors? Before I go with executors, now check my Windows configuration. So my Windows configuration is running with good configuration. So what is that? It's 8 GB and then some i3. So I'm running with i3 CPU. So it's a good configuration. So since it's good configuration, I can go with like 12 to 15 between number of executors. Okay, and then remote root directory, make some directory. So whatever the directory that is, just make a directory. You can create the directory anywhere. Just let me create. So in your directory, okay, in your class, somewhere here. Let's make some directory. Let's say Jenkins home, and that's a directory. Copy the path. Not copied. Just a second. It's copied now. Well, and then label. So what is the label we have? Existing label. How do you check the labels? Go to the node and then you see the label. That's the label. That's the label name. And to this label, we have two nodes added. So we have EC2 and also Linux. I take the same label. I want to add, even though it's a different node, which is Windows node, I want to add it to this same label so that we can see some scenarios. So what happens if different types of nodes add it to a same label? Okay, we'll see that. And then use this maximum and launch method. So what is the launch method is? Launch agent by connecting to the master. So when you select this launch method, so there is an error message. Enter the WebSocket mode is selected. Either WebSocket mode is selected or TCP port for inbound agents must be enabled. What is that TCP port for inbound agents? So I explain this once after launch the node. I'll explain this, but so it's asking us to enable it. So how do you enable it? Now let me show you that step. Then after we enable it, after we launch it, then I'll explain why we are enabled the port number. So by going back to dashboard and then manage Jenkins, how do you enable the TCP port socket number is? So through Jenkins securities. Where is the Jenkins securities? Under manage Jenkins, and then you have configure security, and don't do any changes in configure global security. If you do any changes by mistake, your Jenkins will be locked. So if Jenkins is locked, then you need to unlock it. So there are different steps to lock it. So that's why don't touch anything here. So we talk about these securities in the future. Okay. So probably after 10 days, we'll come back to the same thing. And what do you do? Agents and then TCP port inbound agents. It is disabled. So just enable it. You can go with random port number or some fixed port number if you have any. I take a random port number and enabling that TCP port for inbound agents. Why I'm doing it, I'll explain. But first enable it, save it, and then so just leave all these options. Just leave them, and then simply save it. Now back to the node that is disconnected. Now let's connect it. So whenever you want to connect it, we have different procedures to connect it. The first way is, so click on that launch agent from browser. Now click on it. So what is that? This is what we call JNLP plugin. This is a Java plugin. Okay. So this plugin works like yesterday you have seen. So whenever Linux node was launched onto the node, the next node, so that is your node remote root directory. What was that file name? Remoting.jar file. So what this file does? This file maintains the connection between master and node. The same way, here we need some file which is Jenkins agent.jnlp file. This maintains the connection between master and the node. So this is what we call JNLP plugin. If you want to run this JNLP plugin, you need TCP port number enabled. So that is the reason I have enabled the port number from inbound agents. So now asking us to upgrade Jenkins, I just leave it. I'll just do it later. I don't want to upgrade Jenkins. Sorry, Java. I'm sorry. I don't want to upgrade Java. Just leave that. And this plugin will be launching our Windows node and then connecting to the Jenkins master. And so just a second. So just run the plugin, JNLP plugin. So this is a pop-up. and this pop-up is your JNLP plugin, and this is going to establish connection between your master and then Windows node. So it's connected. Now refresh the node. Okay, but so this pop-up window, can I close it? So it's been closed, and refresh, disconnected. So if that pop-up is closed, your Jenkins, your node connection will be disconnected. And if you want to launch it again click on it, and then so download it and then launch it. So if you want to have your node connected, make sure that window is open. But this is not possible to get these windows open always. Right? Is it possible? No, that's not possible. If you keep open it, so then sometimes you might be closing by mistake. That might also happen. Okay. If you have too many windows open, it's not possible to this window open. So I want to have my connection maintained. I want this to be connected, but I want to close the window. Right? Then how that connection will be maintained? Save the file in. This is not a file. Okay, this is just a window. Enabling a plugin. Which plugin? SSH. Who is that? Okay. No, that's not required. That's for plugin concept. That's not required. So look at here. On this pop-up window, click on that file. Install as a service. Okay. So when you install this as a service, so this JNLP plugin will be running in services. So where do you see the services? Like in control panel, you have services, right? So anyway, I have a shortcut here, services, and you can see that service in the Windows services. Then if I want to make that service always connected, you can make it connected and startup is automatic. Then what does it mean? So what is the service? Yeah. Service means this is an application runs in the system background. If you make that as a service, then make it as automatic start. Then every time when you have your Windows started, your Jenkins will be connected to the Windows node. You don't need to start it again. Right? So you just try that. And this is also a question: how we can make sure Windows node is connected automatically, or else how to install Windows node as a service. What is that install as a service in Windows node? Okay, so that's one question. Otherwise, if you close it, every time when you launch your Windows node, you need to make sure you start that Windows manually. Like for Linux nodes, so initially I was explaining, so you don't need to launch Linux node manually every time. So those will be automatically connected because of SSH connections. But here there is no SSH connection, so this is through JNLP plugin. And if you want to make sure, run it as a service, and then the nodes will be connected automatically. Okay. So that's one way you can connect the nodes. You try that, okay? Install as a service, and then the second way is, now just refresh the node. And there is also, you can run that node through this command. But if you want to run that as a command, then first download that agent.jar file, download that file, and then so copy the file, sorry, copy the command, and then the command line, where is the file is downloaded to? Somewhere in downloads, and then run that. So this is another way you can connect your Windows node. So same thing, right? JNLP port connect this. Fresh, still not yet connected. Yeah, now it is connected. Fresh is, but so these are two different ways. You can connect either through jar files, or you can connect through JNLP plugins, which is a Java plugin. Okay, these are two ways. But now, anyway, now we have the setup ready. So we have nodes ready, we have master ready, also we have nodes ready. Now let's try to go with create some jobs. Let's create some jobs and we'll see how do you run these jobs on nodes. Okay, but let's proceed with now create a new item. That means create a new job. You can click on the new item, or else you can click on that create a job. Both are same, but this option so will be disabled after you create your first job. It's only for the first job. After you create the first job, you won't see this option. So I prefer this new item. So let's give some job name. So what is the job name? I would go with, let's say that's my job name. See, that is my browser history. This is not the feature of Jenkins. This is my browser history. But that is my job name. So what is the purpose of job? The purpose of the job is I have some shell commands. That means some Linux commands. I want to run these commands. Okay. And how I'm going to run these commands? By creating a job in Jenkins. Now, so let's see. Freestyle project. What is a freestyle project? So freestyle project is an project which is like what we call in Windows. While I was creating a node, there was something called permanent node. So what is a permanent node? It's a plain node, right? The same thing. So we are creating a job with no predefined configurations. So it is a plain job. Now, so here we have different sections. So first is general, source code management, build triggers, build environment, and then build post-build actions. Now let's talk about first build. So what is build? So you're creating a job. So what is the purpose of the job? You define the purpose of the jobs in the build section. So what is the purpose of the job is? Run some shell commands, Linux commands. Where do you define them? You define them under the build. Okay. So what are the commands? Sorry, what is the step under build? Add build steps. And what is the step is? Execute shell commands. So enter some commands over here. Let's enter some basic commands. I'm making some directory. Let's say some test directory. Also some file. So touch command. So file one something. Test file. Let's see. So very simple commands. And then that is the first step. And the second step, we have defined the build steps. And the second step is general. And then select that option. Restrict where this project can be run. So what is that? So where do you want to run this project? Whether you want to run it on a node or a label. So I want to run that on a label. Then what is the label name? My label name was new label. So select the label name. Okay. If I want to enter some node, so enter the node name. Okay. And also we have EC2 node, and you also have Windows node. That's your node name. But I want to run it on Linux node. Why Linux node? Why not on Windows node? Yes, because the steps are regarding shell commands. Since these are shell commands, I want to run it on Linux node. Okay, so we'll be running different nodes as well, but let's take this example first. Any more steps? No more steps, only two simple steps. First, I've created some build steps. Under that, I've selected some shell commands, execute shell commands, and general, restrict where this project can be run. And then save it. So what's next? What is that? Build now. So this is what I was saying yesterday. So number of executors, right? Number of concurrent builds. So you run parallelly on a node. That is what is number of executors. So we build a job. Whenever you build it, and the build number will be 1 under build history. Okay, let's run it. Now what is the build number? Build number 1. That's a build number 1. And that is a build history, and click on that. Build number 1. So check the console output. The console output gives you the status of the job. So what is the status of the job is? So it is success. But let's see what is that message. Which user has started this? So why admin? Because my user is admin is a user. And then you have building remotely on which node? Linux node. That's label name. So, and I think that's better only. Yeah. So go with that Linux node. And workspace, we'll talk about it. But anyway, so the commands are clear. These are the commands. Now, what are the commands? Making some directory, also a file. Now, where these files and directories are created? Are they created on node or master? Node. So why node? So we are restricted, right? So we have done that job on a node. So see what master does is master responsibilities. So according to the job configurations, what are the job configurations means? In that we have mentioned that I want to run this job only on Linux node. Since I want to run it on Linux node, according to the configuration, your master is going to assign the job to the particular node. So even the files and that whatever the data you have related to the job, everything will be on the node. Okay. But where is on the node? Where can I see that file and directory? Workspace. So that is what is workspace. So what is that? Jenkins home. What do we call it? We created folder. Yeah, what do you call that folder? Remote root directory, right? When you go to a node, so we call it remote root directory. So remote root directory. So what is remote root directory? It's a dedicated directory for master on the node. Okay, done. So there it is. Okay. Then open that. So we are in remote root directory, and then so there is workspace. Now open workspace. So what was the job name? Linux job. Open Linux job. So I have directory and then file. So what is workspace? So how to define a workspace? Or else can I access the same path from the Jenkins homepage? See, how do you access this workspace? So log into the node first, and then this is the path, right? Then you access your workspace. But without logging into the node, can you access the workspace from the Jenkins homepage? Yes, you can do it. This is my job, right? Where is it? There is a workspace. I can see that. So related files and directory. So that is what is workspace. But anyway, how to define a workspace? A workspace is in Jenkins, for every job, there is a dedicated directory for that job. And that is what is a workspace. Okay. Any data related to the job is maintained within that workspace directory. Am I clear? So that's dedicated for the job itself. That's what is workspace. Right. So now this workspace. So in my job, did I mention anywhere? So if you back to the configure job, did I mention anywhere in my job where I should have my workspace directory? Is it mentioned anywhere? In my job, I have mentioned only two steps. What are they? Build steps and then restrict where this project can be done. I have not mentioned anywhere I want this workspace has to be something like this. I have not mentioned it. That means the workspace is taken by default. That's a default workspace. Where do you see the default workspace? Under Jenkins remote root directory. And then, so what is that? Workspace and then with your job name. That's a default workspace. For example, I'm creating another job. Let's say I'm creating something like Windows job. Then what will be the job name? A workspace directory name. Jenkins home, workspace, and then with your job name. What is the job name is? Windows job. There will be another directory created, same as your job name. Okay. But now, but is it possible to customize the workspace? I don't want workspace in that directory. I want to customize my workspace. Yes, you can customize the workspace. So you can go with the default workspace, or you can also customize the workspace. So that's important point. Remember this. So we need this customized workspace in the future. Okay. Well, so how do you customize the workspace? Configure. No, you can do it from here itself. Under general, and then scroll down. Your advanced option, and there you have use custom workspace. I can use a custom workspace. Okay. So make some directory. Let's say you can give any path, any name, something like test. That's fine. So give the path of the directory. But where is it? Is it on master or on the node? Node, always node, because you're running on that node. So say where is the workspace is actual workspace? On the master or node? On the node. Even this workspace is also on the node. See, master does not maintain any data. Everything is maintained on the node itself. Master is responsible only to run the job. Okay. So the directory is also on master, sorry, on the node. But so do I have the directory? I think I have it, but I remove that directory. 1 second. So this is my node. So if you are confused, just look at the node names, Jenkins master, Jenkins node. Then things will be clear. So I remove the directory. Okay, let it be removed. So the directory is not there. I just mentioned the directory name, but will it be created? So we'll see. Okay. So that's my directory name, and then save it. So build it. So check the console output. Yes, workspace is changed. Okay. So check the workspace. CD test. There is your directory and then files. Right. So now, can I build the same job again? Let's try to build the same job. So was it success or failure? It's a failure. Why it's a failure? So it's a simple reason, you understand that. So directives already exist, right? So you cannot create the same directory, of course. But anyway, so now this is my workspace, right? So this workspace, whatever I click on this workspace now, is it my default workspace or custom workspace? So this is my GUI, right? This is my graphic, this is my front end. From the front end, so I'm trying to access a workspace. Click on the workspace directory. Now I'm the workspace. Now, is it my default workspace or custom workspace? Default or custom? So we're not sure. So say the workspace always you access. So irrespective of its default or custom, irrespective of it, you access only latest build workspace. Latest success build, I mean. So what is the latest success build? Build number 2, right? In the build number 2, you have console output, and that is your workspace. You access the same workspace in the workspace. So the workspace you access from the front end, from the GUI, it's only the current or latest success build workspace. You cannot access the build workspaces. That's not possible. Okay. So this is another question. So the question might be so that what twisted. So access custom workspaces, also default workspaces same time. So irrespective of custom and then default workspaces. So we access only latest build workspace, like success build workspace. Okay, whether it's a custom or default, that is different. We access only success build workspace. So you want to see it clearly. Let's do it one more thing. So let's configure the job. Under build steps. So what I do, I just go with, so remove -rf. So make the directory clean, and then I want to make some file here. Let's say, so touch, let's say new file, okay, and then save it, and then so build it. So that's build number 4. So we have 2 commands and the workspace, okay, and then so check the workspace. So that is a latest success build workspace, okay. So, but what if I want to access the previous build workspace? I want to access the build number workspace. Is it possible?
Yes.
How? Okay. Uncheck the custom workspace. Is it possible? So you uncheck the custom workspace. Okay. So that was not my question. My question was, I want to access the previous build workspace. Output console in the master. So master does not save it. No, master does not save it. In output console, okay. Then that's a workspace. So you need to log into the node manually, and then you check the workspace. But from the GUI, it's not possible because the workspace you access only the latest from the GUI. If you want to access the previous build workspaces, you go to the console. You go to this console output, check the path, then log into the node, check the particular path, then that you can access it. Okay. So that's the concept of workspace. Moving on to So let's create another job. Let's create a new item again. So let's go with some Windows job. So freestyle project, or you want to copy the configurations from existing jobs, you can do it. Go with freestyle project. Okay. And then, so what next? Build steps. I select build actions, which is execute batch commands. So go with some Windows batch commands. So let's go with ipconfig and also make some directory, something. And then general, restrict where this project can be run. And then select the Windows node. Now, do you understand the purpose of labels now?
Yes.
So what is the purpose of labels? See, if I mention that label, what if the job is going to run it on Linux nodes? Will it be success or failure? Will be a failure. That's the reason. Don't add different types of nodes into a same label. Okay. If the nodes are having equal similar configurations, then you can do it. But that's a node. So build it. Check the console. So it was running on Windows node, and that's a default workspace. And then that's a command, IP configuration. IP config is a command, and that's a list, IP list. And then also mkdir. So exit 0 means that was success. So again, same thing, you check the workspace of your Windows. We are in the workspace. And then you have two directories again, remoting plus workspace. Workspace, and the job name was Windows job, then the directory. Okay, well, now back to, so go with the job, go with the previous job, Linux job. I want to configure the job. Let's run it on. So what is that? General, and let's run that on a label now. So previously I was running on a node, but now I'm running on label. Let's see. So just build it. So that's build number 5. And moreover, you see this, you see some date and time, right? So are these master timestamps or node timestamps? Node timestamps or master timestamps? Who is building the jobs? Master. So master is assigning jobs to the nodes, right? So since master is assigning the jobs to the nodes, the time you say is that's master time. See, node is responsible for executing the job, but assigning is done by the master. Okay, well, so that is your master time anyway. So you want to see the confirmation. So on master, we are on master. That was 13:59, 1:50, almost like 2 o'clock. It's 2 p.m. and that's on 15th of March. And but your node time is so 2:02. Okay, that's different. So it is on master time. Anyway, so it was a failure. Why it was a failure? The console output. So what type of job that was? The job was regarding shell commands, right? System cannot find file specified. Command execution failure. Why command execution was failure? What type of command that was? That was a shell command. But where are we running it on? But are we running it on a node? No. We have mentioned the label name, but the label has assigned that job to the node. That's why it's a failure. So don't add different nodes to a same label. So these will be kind of errors. Okay. Now let me try this. Back to, let's create another job. So far we have been running some simple batch commands and then Linux shell commands. Let me run some Python related commands. Okay. So very simple Python scripts I want to run it. So Python build. And under build steps, but there is no Python, right? So install that Python plugins. Then the Python option will be appeared. Okay. Let's try that. So if you are not sure what plugins needs to be installed and how these plugins, what is the purpose of the plugins, if you want to know the purpose, if you want to know the detailed information of the plugins, you can get the information from Jenkins.io, that's Jenkins homepage, website, I mean, and then you have plugins. So this is your plugin index. You can find these plugins. So there you have. So plugins as per category. You can browse as per category. Or if you want to see that new plugins or recently updated plugins, you can see these plugins. For example, I'm looking for, so let's say, some SSH build plugin, build agent. It's not loading. Search for something. It's not listing. Don't know why. The search bar is not working. Okay, let me take. So I think it's not working. Bar is not working. Yeah, there it is. Now we got it. SSH build agents. Click on the plugin. You get the detailed plugin information. Okay, how many versions they had so far, and you get some. If you want to get the documentation, you can go to the documentation, and they have releases. All the releases they had so far. Okay, that's your plugin information. And now anyway, so that's only for idea. Let's go back to the Python. So what is a plugin? So we need Python plugin now, manage plugins, and then manage plugins. So Python build, let's say Python plugin, it's Python. Okay. I think this will be taking a lot of time, I guess. Yes, it takes a lot of time. It has to install too many plugins. So let it be installed. It takes too much time. I know at least 15 to 20 minutes. So let it be installed. And once it is installed, probably tomorrow session, I'll take this part, let it be installed. So don't waste time. Now in the meanwhile, back to the dashboard. So let me create another job. Create a new item. So far we have been looking into running some simple shell commands and then bash commands. Now I will be moving on to running some Java commands. Okay, take some Java commands and then run that Crystal project. Okay. So I take a simple Java file, hello.java file, and then we'll see how do you compile that Java file So using Jenkins job. That means whenever I run the job, it has to create, and it has to compile your Java file. Okay, that's what is now build. So what commands? Is there any Java commands? See, Java is not a command, and it is a command, of course, but that is just also like a shell command or else batch commands. See, whenever you want to run some commands, Java commands, what do? You open your command line and then run the Java commands. Okay. So what are the commands? Java C, and then the file you want to compile it, and then Java, and then your class file name. I'm compiling it, let's running that class file. Okay. And then general and the district where this project can be done. So go with Linux node, select some node. Okay. Save it. Only 2 steps again. Build steps and then general. Again, same 2 steps. Save it. So let's build it and we'll look at the result. Build it. So was a failure. So why was a failure? There is no Java file. Okay. So that was also correct, but the error is something different. So what was that error?
So Java not set up.
Java not set up where? On the node. So if Java was not set up on the node, how I was able to launch that node? Right? So while you launch a node, so do you remember it checks for the Java version? So it checks for the Java version. So go to manage Jenkins and then check the node. And then, so where do you see them? Under logs. Here you see that. So Java version. Yes, my node has Java installed. So I have Java installed. That's my node. But why it is still showing up Java is not on? No, there is no version conflict. Okay. So what could be a reason? Sometimes Jenkins master loads the Java from different path. So where is my Java installed? My Java installed somewhere on the node. How do you get the path? Dollar and then Java underscore 4. So there is my Java install in that path. But your Jenkins master is not able to find that Java from the path. So Jenkins is going to load that Java from a different path for the job purpose, I'm saying, not for the node purpose, not for while you launch, but I'm talking about when you run the jobs. So what is that path? So there is a standard path. We talk about the path. But the question is, now Jenkins is not able to load that JDK, not able to find JDK. Then what we do? We install JDK, but JDK is already installed, right? So we're going to install JDK, but we don't do it. So that is done by Jenkins. So that is Jenkins issue. So Jenkins will be able to install or download and install the JDK according to its requirement. So it is going to download, install the JDK on its standard path. Okay. So it is going to download, install JDK, but which version? Jenkins have number of versions, but which version? So we select the version. We select the version, Jenkins will be installing its required version. Okay. So now that is the question, how do you select that version? So now here, again in Java, in the job, when you configure the job, so there we select our build environments. These build environments are for selecting your, so what environment or what version of JDK you want to build your job. But when I go with build environment, so there is no option called JDK options over here. So how it has to be done? So it has to display all the versions of JDK as a drop-down list. So it has to display the drop-down list. But it is not displaying any JDK version in the drop-down. But if you want to get that list is done, we set up the list. Once you set up the list, then the list will be appearing in this build environments. How to set up the list? Now, again, it is manage Jenkins. So back to manage Jenkins, and then so what is that? Global tool configuration. Let's scroll down. There you can see JDK. Select JDK, add JDK. Well, so just a second. It has to display the versions. It's not giving the versions. So it's not displaying the versions, right? The reason could be so how it has to work is it has to display the versions over here. So it's not giving the versions. So at JDK, there is no versions. All right. So that could be because of the timestamp issue. Okay, that's what I guess. So today is like 24th, 16th March, right? So there is a time difference between this. Okay, so see all those. Okay, or else say if I want to explain it. So how it works is now here we select the versions actually. We set up the list. The same list will be appearing in the job configuration. But why the list is not appearing is because of the timestamp issue. My Jenkins master timestamp issue is not up to date. So we change it and then we restart it, and then so it is going to display all the versions. So that could be a reason. Otherwise, there is no other reason. But anyway, so if you change the timestamp, okay, let's change this timestamp up to date 16th, and then it's around 11 o'clock. So set the timestamp. So, but will it be 6 days? I think I need to wait for some time. Just go to min and then min. It won't appear as soon as we change the time. Will take some time. Yeah, that's what I said. Will take some time. So I think I need to restart. So Jenkins as well. Since I have changed my timestamps, and restart my Jenkins. But so we'll be doing it tomorrow then. Okay. So now, but in your case, so I think most of you are trying on EC2 instances. There won't be any timestamp issues for you. but my time I have instance of timestamp issues. I set the timestamp, then so in tomorrow's session I'll explain this how to set up these tools. Okay. So and also try to install this plugin. The Python plugin, is it installed? Try to install Python plugins, manage plugins, and then update center. It's not yet installed, so it's still installing it. So let it be installed. Right. So you're going to try this for today. You try to set up the Windows node first, and once Windows node is set up, and so run Windows node as a service. As a service, that's the second thing. And then so create jobs, create some Windows jobs, also some Linux related jobs, and then so you'll run these jobs on nodes and also run that on labels. And if possible, try to install that Python plugin. So we'll take some time, but install that. And when we come back tomorrow, we'll just talk about this. How do you compile that? And once we compile it, so here we are compiling only one single file. But what if you have a project? How do you build it? There comes build tools and naming. So we talk about that. If possible, if we have time left in tomorrow's session, we also talk about continuous integration. Okay, depends upon the time. Yeah. But thank you. Any questions? No questions? Okay. Thank you.